Good day, everybody. You're watching Beyond the Test Drive, and I have been spending several days in this 2023 Polestar 2. This is the all-wheel drive. This has the dual motor, so we're talking really healthy numbers. We got 408 horsepower here. We have, I don't know, I'll put the numbers up there, like 480-ish pound-feet of torque. So this thing, again, Polestar is all about the performance EV. It's a performance EV subsidiary of Volvo. They've spun that off. And other thing is that Volvo and Polestar are fully owned by Geely. I probably pronounced Geely wrong. I think it's Geely with a soft G. So this is a Chinese manufactured car. Now, three things about this that I like a lot. Number one, the styling. This is what I would call kind of stealth styling. It looks clean, it looks Swedish, kind of minimalist, which I really like, but it doesn't stick out. You're not going to draw a lot of attention to yourselves, and you don't see a lot of these. So as Teslas by the millions are passing you by, you can feel a little smug. The other thing that I really like about this is that this is a liftback, and I'll go ahead and has kicked to open. And the liftback is very versatile. You can see with the seats down there, you just have so much versatility with this. You do have a pass-through in the middle. You also get more storage below this. You can see some charging equipment here. So no spare tire, some nets. So nice area, nice lighting, 12 volt back here. Now, as this one sits, this one's sitting at around $58,000. And that's the $1 million question, or the $58,000 question. Is this really worth it? In a lot of ways, this does feel like a super premium EV that competes with something like the BMW i4, but it really does benchmark against something like the Model 3 from Tesla, which is a lot cheaper. The third thing I have really enjoyed, and there's actually a fourth one we'll get into, is the lighting. This is fully adaptive. We have fog lights down there. This is a joy to drive on a dark mountain road. It doesn't blind any drivers, but everything swivels, goes up and down. Super, super nice lighting. So this car oozes personality. It's got some really interesting quirks. It's got some luxury features to it. One of the things that's quirky is these door handles, but they're nice and chunky. You're not going to have any issues in the wintertime with these door handles. Now, and contrasting to that is this really, really crummy key fob. And you go, wow, is that key fob worth, is this compatible with a car at this price? I would say no, but on the other hand, you put it away, you never need it because of all of it's fully keyless proximity. You never have to get it out. We have a yellow latch right there. There we go. But it's a nice space. I think you can move this, but you have your repair kit and a jack. That's where you would fill your washer fluid. Getting back to pricing real fast, again, this one does not even have a heat pump. You got to add on another package. So I would say this car, as it sits without the panoramic roof, this is really good for warmer climates, but anywhere where it gets cold, you're going to need that heat pump, which comes as part of like the Plus package, but you get a lot of goodies, and you also get a huge panoramic roof. I can live without that. You have 19-inch wheels on Continentals. I think these are like 245s, 45s, really good size. Okay, if you're paying attention, you'll notice we have switched locations and even dates, because I was apparently the only food supply for about 1 million mosquitoes where I was. And I have also, in the name of science, I've also switched to a front wheel drive single motor. So just to be fair, we're going to compare both the single motor and the dual motor on the drive. But let's go ahead and dive into the interior. Again, I like the chunky handles here. You do have accent lighting all the way around. And if you notice that, this will unlock from the rear doors as long as you have the proximity key. So nice little touch there. Let's go ahead and hop in the back. So this is where this car is a little bit of a contradiction, because man, it looks great. I like all the materials on the door, just crazy selection, but they've all made it visually work together. All the materials in here are supposedly vegan or recycled, and the seats back here are pretty comfortable. I don't have any problem, average amount of leg room, no problems with that. You have your vents back here, and you have 2 USB-Cs back here, and you get a nice cup holder and arm rest here. Now, first contradiction, these look really good. I like the texture on these, but I guess it's just one of those things where I feel like this is sort of Kia, you know, no offense Kia or Toyota, this just kind of feels like base fabric seats in one of those cars, not in your Polestar. Really nice wide pulls here and decent little pockets out there. So again, all this feels really, really nice. And if you look at the interior in general, you know, what's nice about this is that, you know, if you like minimalist interiors, but you think the Tesla takes it too far, they've added just enough contrast in the colors, and you get the center display up there, which we'll dive into. And it's just visually, you know, minimalist, but it's still very interesting to look at. But let's take a look at one of the absurdities with these seats. Now, both the driver and the passenger seat have powered seats. You have up, down, front, and back. The passenger seat even has four-way lumbar, so that's a really nice thing. But here's the absurdity. If you want to, let's see, you can't even see it. If you want to change the seat back angle in this car, you have to crank this crank thing. I haven't seen one of these on a car since like 90s Volkswagen, so good grief. So this is probably the biggest absurdity with this car, and that's on the driver's seat over there too. Now, while we're over here, you also get a very, very, very nice large lit glove box, so that's pretty nice. And on both sides, you'll see a little bit of storage there. Go ahead and hop in the driver's seat. Again, you can see the power options down there. Okay, starting with the center console, you know, this is one of those areas where it's pros and cons. I think it looks great, but functionally, you only have a little bit of storage down there with a wireless phone charger right here, two USB-Cs right here. You can see I got my phone plugged in because there's no wireless Apple CarPlay, but there is wireless charging. That's kind of crazy. But nice materials in here. I really like this. I like all the materials. I think they have really, really nice contrasting. It looks elegant. Right in here, they do the same thing. And then they throw all this piano black in here. So you get two hard buttons for your rear and front defrost. You get a nice volume knob, probably one of the best as far as feeling, and your hand sits right on top of the shift knob. Now, I like the shift knob. You got the little cool Polestar logo there. It's real easy to use. Put it up into reverse, down into drive, up one notch for neutral, and then your parking switch there. It does take up all the room though. It's right in the middle, but it just kind of comes to hand. It's just one of those nice little touches here. And with your hand is sitting here, that's when you can turn your dial, your volume knob up and down, and you can pause your music with a press there. I could talk all day about how much I hate the cup holder situation. If you follow this car at all, you know, everybody else complains about it, but it's one of the worst that I've seen. One single cup holder. And if you think this is storage, well, maybe a little bit, but it's really intended to be your second cup holder, and that's pretty much it. So if it's just you, you'll use that for a little bit of storage, and you can throw a second cup in there. This actually comes down, giving you nice room back here in the hip area, but up in the front, I can see where people who are taller will be banging their knee against this. Nice chunky steering wheel, feels really, really good. More piano black here, but at least the buttons feel pretty good. All your cruise control things are over here, and then you get a multi-purpose button here that controls your volume or switch stations. And one of my favorite features, I think this may be like that fourth thing so far, is the integration of Google Maps into the overall instrument cluster and the infotainment system. So let's just go back to the infotainment system really, really quick here. This is running Android operating system. This is pretty much what you're going to get on your phone, and it works really, really well. This is a really easy system to use once you kind of play with it a little bit. Really, really simple. We'll just start at the top here. Your car, you just hit that and all your car settings. This is where you change your steering feel, whether you're doing one pedal driving, whether you have creep mode on or not. All of your assistance, all your safety features are under assist. Charging is really, you just change your charge level. You can see 90% is recommended. And then you have all your interior lights, exterior lights, locking, wiper options are all in this menu here. You can either go to the home screen down the bottom or hit that one, and you get a different look. This is more like your phone where you get Google Maps. Yeah, it just works really, really well, and it's pretty simple. This car also has a very nice 360 view camera. If you hit that right there, you can see excellent, and that works really, really well with steerable lines all over the place. If you get close to something like you're parking or you're going through a drive-through, it'll actually pop up the 360 for you automatically. So that's a nice little touch. If you do go to CarPlay, it's right down here. Looks pretty nice, easy to use. Screen's really, really responsive. Back to home again. And then all of your air conditioning or your heating and air conditioning is down here. I have been leaving it on auto eco, and this thing keeps the car fairly cool. No problems. It's been really, really hot, but it works really, really well. I don't really touch it. I leave it kind of 78, 76 down here. Single zone. You do have the vents in the back, and you do have your seat heaters right here. So again, pretty easy to use. Parking settings, just more settings as far as how you use your seat heaters, etc. And then down here for Google Maps, it's integrated right here. If you put a destination in, it'll tell you your charge level, what your battery, you know, what do you got to charge. You can route out things to longer destinations. It'll lay out your stops for you just like a Tesla will. And one of my favorite features is the map will always show up in your instrument cluster, and it looks excellent. So you don't really have to use this. You can always keep this on some of your other things that you want to use. You can keep Apple CarPlay up here while running the integrated Google Maps, and all your directions are down here. As far as the instrument cluster goes, you have a couple views. You have the map view, you have this more simple view. We do have traffic sign recognition. We have all auto high beams, and we do have automatic rain sensing wipers there too. Again, big pulls right here. And if you look at the mirrors, I'll go ahead and adjust that. Left there, you can see the whole mirror is changing position. Apparently they have a patent on this. So anyway, it's kind of neat. It kind of makes for a rimless design. All 4-button auto up and down there. And here's your child locks right there, whether you disable the back child locks. This is your main locking up there. So this is just for child locks. I found that out the hard way. I got trapped myself in the back, and I wasn't quite sure how to disable them. And you do have seat memory. You know, you still have the cranking seats, so it's not going to help with that. But you do have 2-person seat memory there. And then if I hit this, I can bring up some trip information right there as far as how much kilowatts I'm using, miles, average speed, things like that. So this is just like if you're an Android phone user, you can just download apps. You can see there's a bunch over here, Sirius XM. You can put Spotify on here. Any services that you like to use on your phone, you can run right through this system. This does come with 3 years of connected services for free. So it even includes YouTube. So while you're charging, you can watch Beyond the Test Drive. This is a good looking channel. Yeah, I think I'll subscribe to that. No sunglass holders or anything up there. We do have a fairly rimless, self-dimming rear view mirror. Now, as far as visibility goes, you know, this car has a high belt line, very small windows, and not very good visibility out the backs with that tiny window back there. But, you know, this is where, you know, you got that 360 surround camera. So I haven't had any issues with parking it or visibility in general. Let's hop back into the all-wheel drive dual motor and get her out on a fun road. Now, one thing that's pretty apparent about the Polestar 2 is it feels substantial, and that's not by accident. This thing is a kind of a porker. When you think about this compared to something like a Model 3, this is significantly heavier, but overall interior, just the driving impression, you got this chunky wheel. It's very quiet. There's no motor whine at all. It just quietly goes about its business. There's no like pumped in fake sounds that you're gonna, you know, like some of the other car manufacturers do. It's just simple driving. Let's talk about the throttle response. And this is another thing that I really do like about driving this, is what they've done here is they've given you a pretty dull throttle pedal for 90% of your just daily driving. It's a very nice, smooth transition onto the throttle. It almost feels slow. And a matter of fact, the first time I drove this, I'm like, really? 480 pound-feet of torque? This does not feel it. So what Polestar wants you to do, though, is if you really want to draw into that incredible acceleration, you just have to dip into the throttle pedal quite a bit. Again, it makes daily drivability really, really smooth, but then again, if you really want to get into it, well, you have to push the pedal down and you have to ask for it. Now, this does have one pedal driving, and it's easy to access. You just go to your car thing right there. This is one of my favorite things about this system, is just how easy it is to change the few settings. They don't throw a lot of settings at you, which again, I really do like that. Sport mode is really just going to disable your traction control, or at least tune it down a little bit to be a little less aggressive. But the steering wheel, you got light, standard, and firm there. I don't see a huge difference in this. This is already nicely weighted steering in the standard setting. If you go to firm, it feels a little heavier, but not much, and it really doesn't change anything as far as performance, driving feel. The other nice thing down here is you can turn your one pedal driving off. You can put it on low, and you can put it on standard. Now, standard is full one pedal driving. As you can see, this thing will come to a stop pretty fast when you let off the gas, and I, you know, it's not really a quibble. I find the one pedal driving in this to be way more, it's much stronger than Tesla. So I have yet to get this down, even after like 5 days now. I'm still a little rough around the edges on the one pedal driving because it is so strong. So I tend to leave it in low, and for 80%, like going into this turn right now, I'll just let off of it a little bit, and it slows me down enough to get through that turn. So I like the low setting for one pedal driving because you still have to use the brake. Okay, I'm just gonna naturally accelerate like a normal person here. And I'm pretty much into the throttle, probably about a quarter there to get going. And then if I really goose it, oh, that's when you feel that's when you feel that this is a 4-second 0 to 60 car. Handling wise, all right, this is what we're here to talk about. Overall, this car is a true joy to drive. Now, handling, this thing, oh, man, it has got so much capability. It's squat. You feel very, very glued to the road. There's essentially no lean. Now, would I call it go-kart like? No, because the steering is not slow, but it's not real quick and darty either, and there's absolutely no feedback in the steering. I would like a little bit more direct steering, maybe a tad quicker. On the highway, you don't want real quick steering, you want more relaxed, and so there's a little bit of a compromise there with the steering feel and the steering. But handling wise, this is, you know, it's equivalent to the 3. It's not quite as tossable as the Tesla, and again, it's a little heavier. So I you know, this to me is a little bit more of a grand tour, because on a road like this, you're gonna have fun. It's just a hoot to drive. Let me go ahead and turn off the one pedal, and it does run on you. There's almost no drivetrain slowing you down at all when you take that one pedal off. So again, that's why I like the low. It's a little bit more like a gas car where you feel a little bit of the transmission holding you back. When you turn that off, you have to be all on the brakes, which I'm going to do right now. Ooh. Yes, that's really good. Those are good brakes. Now, when considering all driving scenarios, highway, daily duties, and fun curvy roads, I think this dual motor, which is wicked quick, solid, planted, I think this is one of the best cars I've driven, but all is not sunshine and flowers. The suspension, as expected for a great handling sports sedan, it's very stiff, and that's not the issue. I prefer a very firm ride. It's just that over any kind of rough pavement or bumps, any semblance of a premium product quickly disappears. The suspension is noisy, and it just feels very unsophisticated. Now, that all could be due to the very stiff feeling of the overall body of the Polestar. To it feels like a solid block. Nothing shudders or creaks.
Nothing in the interior rattles, and again, it's just solid feeling, but noisy behavior from the suspension over the rough stuff. And we're gonna get this out on the highway. Now, this thing has plenty of zip. Actually, let me adjust my mirror real fast. There we go. Now, this 2023 single motor is really down on horsepower compared to even the Tesla or some of the other competition, but it zips around really good. The only time you'll notice, well, not the only time, but one of the biggest things that you'll notice is that as you get up to speed, it has plenty of passing power compared to any gas motor car. It's just that it doesn't have that crazy zip of the all-wheel drive, as you can imagine. But here we go. I'm just gonna goose it up here. Don't do this at home, kids. But yeah, this is fine. So this is where I'm really intrigued by the 2024. The 2024 is going to move that motor to the rear where it should be. That's going to create some fun, and it's going to up the horsepower dramatically. I think it's going to be like 290. So I think that's going to solve all of the sort of this isn't slow by any means. This is what I would call typical EV, and it's very fine. So whether you're in the all-wheel drive or this single motor out here on the highway, the ride really does smooth out. Even on this kind of coarse pavement here, it's actually pretty comfortable ride out here. Now, the other thing is this is really quiet. You got some road noise, but I'd say it's a tad quieter than Tesla's. Very controlled wind noise. And I would say this is a great grand touring cruising car. The only issue I still have is the seat situation comes back. I don't find these, even though you got the really nice lumbar adjustment, I don't find these, really outstanding as far as seat comfort. So, but I could sit in them all day. Again, I'm going to just keep harping on it. I would expect more at this price point. We have an okay sounding stereo system in here. Again, this is one of those things for the price point I would want better, but I'd say it's when it comes to a bass system, it's a B+. It's definitely better than your run-of-the-mill mass, your mass market cars. But I'll go ahead. I got the binaurals going. Let's go ahead and crank it a little bit for you. Not bad, especially given how quiet this cabin is. It's be a great place to spend some time listening to some music. Now, if you upgrade, you can always add on, I think it's a Harman Kardon system. Add some more speakers, adds a subwoofer. Now the question is, would I want to buy one of these? And I'm completely conflicted, because the Polestar 2, especially in all-wheel drive, I'm gonna say it's probably one of my favorite cars I've ever driven. The power, the handling, the personality, and this ultimately ends up being a car I want to want. I think as far as some of the shortcomings, I think the seats I could live with. I could live with the seats. I could live with the center console, because the infotainment system and integration and everything is just such a pleasure to use. This thing is such a pleasure to drive. My only real maybe line in the sand would be the suspension over rougher surfaces, everyday driving that you're going to be doing, because I just feel like it should be a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit better riding at this price point. So, man, like I said, this is a car I want to want. For people who are worried that all EVs are going to be the same and bland and sterile, this Polestar 2, I think, is an example that you can have personality and quirks and character
and a lot of driving fun. I think the 2024s will, especially the two-wheel drive, they're going to move that motor to the back. It's going to have nearly 300 horsepower. I think that's the one. I think that is going to be a hoot to drive. You know, unless you live in a large, you know, in a northern climate where you have to have that all-wheel drive, I think the two-wheel drive, you are going to have to add on a heat pump. I hate to say it, for cooler climates and battery charging, but that's going to have over 300-mile range. So the 2024 rear-wheel drive, you know, that's the one I'd like to get my hands on for an extended test, because that one is really intriguing, and I think that's going to be a blast to drive. So let me know what you think. If you're an EV fan or you're curious, we'd love to hear your questions and comments. And if we've done a good job today, give us a thumbs up. We'd highly appreciate that. And we'd always love you to subscribe. Subscribers are, that makes our day. So again, thanks for watching today in this Polestar 2, and have a great day, morning or evening, wherever you may be.